who is a graduate of the department and works at Bonneville Power Industry in Portland, Oregon. He is a member of the Gems Alumni Board in town. So thanks for volunteering to do this. Appreciate it.
Cool. By the way, how much time do I have?
Till about 1 o'clock.
Oh.
So you can answer questions and a little bit but no later than 1.
Okay, we'll just go ahead and get started. A very interesting pattern, to say the least, and very chaotic. It is interesting that we're already, I mean, the tropics are very, very active, and this has been going on now for the past couple of months. You can probably, this is the one thing you can probably blame on the El Nino. I know people are going to start blaming all sorts of things on El Nino the next few weeks and months, but very active tropics all the way across, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But in general, we have a basically split flow across the Northern Hemisphere, especially over North America, where we got a pretty active Pacific jet coming into the Pacific Northwest, which, by the way, this is about a month earlier than usual for us up by where I am. Normally, this is still our dry season. We usually don't get rain until October, but we've already had a couple of pretty good rainstorms, especially up in British Columbia. But that jet is just staying along the northern tier states and keeping the beginnings of the nice chilly Canadian air masses from coming down into the U.S. Meanwhile, this upper level low, which anyone's been doing campus weather this week has probably been on tearing their hair out about. Is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain? Is it going to come north? Is it not going to come north? It's sitting out here. It's been here past a couple of days now, right over the Florida Panhandle. Very interesting development on the east flank this morning, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Ida, tropical depression. Ida is somewhere in here and really not a big issue and probably will dissipate here before too long. Nice upper level low out here. And then there's yet another tropical storm trying to form southeast of Hawaii in those warm water temperatures. Visible is interesting this morning. The morning fog, you can see it very clearly. The very typical State College morning fog in September is if you've got a clear, calm morning. The stratoQ hasn't moved in yet. That'll come. The stratoQ is out here in the plains. But what's very interesting with this upper level low is you can kind of make it out on visible imagery. There is a weak surface circulation. You remember the upper level low is over here in the Florida Panhandle. There is a weak surface circulation here, and there is convection trying to concentrate near the core. If this was about 150 miles east of the coast, I would get really excited because this could be a tropical thingy developing, but it's just too close to land, and I think over the next 24 hours, any circulation that can develop will probably kind of either ride the coast or come inland. But this is going to be an interesting place to watch over the next 48 hours as this upper level low starts to try to come north. There is a pretty good confluent flow over us, so it's going to be hard for this to get much farther north than the Mason-Dixon line in terms of precipitation. But this could really dump a lot of rain down in the Carolinas and probably up into Virginia here over the next 72 hours. This upper level low looks a little more like fall. I didn't look in here this morning, but I thought I saw temperatures in the 40s in there and 30s. So kind of cool. 300 millibar chart this morning shows the split jet. You got, here's the main polar jet way up in Canada. Kids, get used to this. This is a very typical El Nino signal where you get in a jet, the polar jet wants to stay north, and then you get a more and more active southern branch of the jet or a subtropical jet. We're already starting to see vestiges of that periodically. Sometimes it fades, sometimes it weakens, sometimes it develops, but you can kind of make it out here. We have 50 knots already at 300 millibars. It will not be shocking this winter to see 120, 130 knot winds in some of these jet plots here getting into the winter. And here's our upper level low kind of stuck here. Meanwhile, Pennsylvania is in this weak, it's not really a call, but you have this confluent zone over Pennsylvania at 300. Confluent flow means what? Sinking air, right. And so this is going to make it difficult, I think. And I know there's been I think everyone got burned last weekend by the rain, and all of a sudden just kind of, oh, here it is. That's going to be really hard to do this time for a couple of reasons, and this is one of them, is that the jet is pretty, I mean, it's reconsolidating over New England and for the mid-Atlantic, and so that's really hard. I mean, what you got is this will keep sustaining that weak surface high pressure that's over the region. We'll go back to, I'm going to go to 500 just for giggles. There's that upper level low. The 500 millibar temperatures are still pretty mild. They're about -9, -7. So this is not like you don't have a warm core low developing here, but it is an area to watch. And you can see here with all those upper level lows just kind of stuck between the branches of the jet. You don't have a lot of push on anything, so you have these weak upper lows just kind of hanging out. And then the jet to the north. And then let's go to 850, because this is the other key, I think. Let me just go to 12Z here. Quite a bit of moisture down here along the Carolinas, but we're still feeding dry air in here at 850 into Pennsylvania. So even though we'll be getting morning fog the next couple of mornings just because it's that time of year, you have a long night, and the dew points are in the low 50s, you don't have to go too far up in the atmosphere to have a pretty dry air mass. So what this is telling me is that if anything does try to come north for the game this weekend, at least Saturday, it's got to saturate from the top down, and it's going to take a long time to do it. So maybe not a sunny game, but I think a lowering and thickening cloud will probably be the best call for the forecast on Saturday. Now by Sunday, though, this high does move off to the east a little bit, and that might allow a little bit of room for moisture to come up in here. So let's just take a look at the GFS. To be honest, I have not looked at the NAM all that much. It's just because I'm spoiled in the West, and the NAM has some issues with the terrain in the Pacific Northwest, so I tend to default to GFS. I know, my bad. And then European, you look at quite a bit, but just as an initial look, I'm sure there's subtle details between the models, but in general, you can see the upper level, just kind of the key features are really this upper level low, and what does this confluent flow do over Pennsylvania? And there's our, there is barely a surface an upper level reflection of that upper low. So you notice here, this is 48 hours. So this is 0Z Saturday, 6Z, 12Z Saturday, and you notice here we've got you have a little bit of a shear vort trying to come up in here, and I think what this might do is this will increase our clouds, I think, during the day Saturday. But then you got to get the upper level low a little bit closer. Now what's interesting is that this new GFS is a little bit farther west with this low track, the upper level low track, and so what it's doing, by the way, this is, let's see, this is 0Z, this is 66 hours, this is 0Z Sunday. Notice that the high is still over New England, still with a weak easterly flow at the low levels. Again, it's going to be, until this high gets out of the way, it's going to be awfully hard to get the rain too far north. But look where it is. Good thing Canning's not. Canning this weekend is Erie and Ohio. Is that?
Yeah, nothing south.
Good. That would be a long.
There is Pittsburgh.
Okay, there is Pittsburgh. All right. Well, there'll be a little bit slightly better chance of rain down there, but this is they are going to be in this 90% RH area down here for a good 60 hours. So this was what the rain revealed at 48. This is 60-hour precip totals off the GFS, and yes, that is a, let's see, 5-6 inch bullseye over northern North Carolina. So, and I think it's just because of that upper level low being able to pull that tropical moisture in, and some kind of a hints of, you can even see it here, there is some hints of a surface trough, or again, it's just too close to land to actually develop a tropical system, but you don't need a good, you don't need a tropical depression. What number are you up to in the Atlantic now? I know we're on 16 in the Pacific, but it's like 10. You're not going to get a TD 11, and even if you did, it's too close to land. But this is still, you can produce a lot of rain with that. And then we go a little bit farther out in time. And just very quickly, I'll just loop through here just for giggles. And you can see here that that upper level low basically shears out very gradually over the next 3 or 4 days, but it is still lingering around. So, and then you have a new low trying to develop down to the south. Notice the polar jet stays to the north. There have been some model runs that have been trying to bring a pretty good Canadian air mass into the north central U.S., but they've been waffling back and forth quite a bit on it. And I looked at the euro earlier today, and it's looking more like the GFS right now, which is just keeping it just north of the U.S.-Canadian border. But a pretty good front in here that will eventually go through Ontario and maybe get things changed up a little bit. Out west, interesting developments here. Notice this upper level low. This will be interesting because on Monday is the contest. How many are you in the forecasting contest? The National Collegiate Weather Forecasting Challenge. First city is Sandburg, California, which is just north of LA, and it's in a desert area at 4,500 feet above sea level. That's going to be a tough one for you all because it's not precip that'll be the issue there. It's a desert environment. Temperatures are going to be a real pain in the butt, so good luck. And then you can see here, there's that system grazing across the northern tier of the U.S., which might get a little interesting. Notice what's going on here. The GFS likes to do this, of course, on developing a tropical system of some kind and trying to bring it into the Gulf of Mexico. Possible. There is an upper level low out here that could, give you enough baroclinic instability to at least try to get something going, and then with the warm water temperatures, maybe get something to start as a kind of a quasi subtropical thing and then become tropical. This might get a little interesting next week. But notice what's going on around here. This is pretty blah pattern. One thing that caught my eye on this GFS is you notice what's going on in 96 hours. There is still a weakness in the jet. You still have that weakness upper level low nearby. So it keeps trying to develop these weak little coastal circulations. Could they become a tropical depression? Don't know. It's probably a hybrid kind of system, but it looks pretty wet in the Carolinas and awfully close to Pennsylvania over the next few days, but it looks like I think it's just too far south. There might get, here's the 70% RH. I suppose some sprinkles finally make its way down to the ground, but that's about it. So, just quick look at moss, because, just to promote the moss worshipping. So notice it looks pretty good. This looks pretty good to me, actually, and this has been pretty consistent. Temperatures remain, the mid to upper 70s today, and as the temperature, we don't have a lot of cold or warm air advection at low levels. So you end up with whatever sky condition will govern the temperatures, and that seems to be the case here, where temperatures kind of hang up in the mid 50s. Very typical. They follow the dew point at night. Dew points are in the low 50s still right now, so probably morning fog almost every day, except Sunday morning when I think this is right. I think what we'll see is lowering and thickening clouds during the day. Saturday, by Sunday, will probably be overcast around here, and maybe. Moss is trying to give about a 30 pop, 10, 20. That's probably right. Slight chance. I think it's more likely to be sprinkles. I thought I saw the local weather office going for drizzle. I get pretty persnickety with the use of the word drizzle, but I think sprinkles are probably a good bet. And then you can see here, once that low gradually shears out, temperatures start climbing again back into the 70s. You notice that jet staying to the north. I just don't see it cooling off anytime soon. At least the next 10 days, it looks slightly above average temperatures around here, which, yeah, I don't think anyone's going to complain. Just a little teaser on the El Nino. I don't know if y'all have been looking at this much. This will be a big deal in the western U.S. and any western or southern cities you're forecasting for this winter. This is a pretty robust El Nino now, and it's not even peaked yet because this is below the surface of the water. This is at 100 to 150 meters below the surface. That is 6-7 degrees above normal sea surface temperatures. So there's still quite a bit of warm water in there. And we also got cooling here in the West Pacific. That's also a classic signal of a maturing El Nino. There's only been 2 El Ninos that have been this strong since we've been recording them, and that was 57-58 and 97-98. And so it's kind of hard to, and there's some temptation. 82-83 was a very strong El Nino, but if you look back at 82-83, be very careful, because 82-83 there was a volcanic eruption. So I know I've seen every once in a while someone say, "Oh my goodness, 82, 83, so much snow. It was an El Nino winter. So much snow on the East Coast." Yeah, well, yeah, we had a volcanic eruption, and the whole Earth was 2 degrees cooler than normal. And yes, that, well, yeah, you can get snow that way. So, any special requests that people want to see? I think I covered it all. Basically, pretty benign weather pattern, but very chaotic. I actually tried to find some anchoring troughs or ridges in the northern hemisphere, and I couldn't, just because you have all these upper level lows, and you definitely have eventually this is all going to, you'll actually get a pretty good subtropical jet in here. In fact, this looks like the start of one trying to get going. But
I have to leave in a minute, but I have a quick question about sea surface temperature anomalies. I know there's a core in the Gulf of Alaska that's 2 or 3 degrees Celsius above normal, and that tends to, correct me if I'm wrong, enhance the ridging in the Gulf of Alaska.
It can.
And that, some have attributed that to the troughiness over eastern Canada and eastern U.S. And some people who like snow were hoping for that for the winter. Do you have any thoughts on that? Is that true, or?
Well, part of that is, I mean, the first part, probably talking about the warm blob. And let me try to get up. I'm trying to think of a good satellite image that I can bring that up. Let's see. There we go. This is what I wanted. Although I gotta get farther north, so bear with me. I know what you're talking about though. Yeah. So I will get there. Let's see. Went too far. You put me on the spot, Ryan.
I know it's a tough area to find. I know some of the things aren't.
Yeah, the problem is that.
I wasn't sure if you had any general thoughts on what that can do to the pattern.
No thoughts. Well, and that's not.
I didn't know if that was something they talk about in the Northwest or anything like that.
We do. We talk about it a lot in the West because. Okay, this is sea surface temperatures. All right, I'm getting closer. I'm getting warmer. No. There it is. Yeah. This is that warm blob. Right. This has been around all summer long, and there's a real debate going on. Did this cause the big ridge in the western U.S. all summer long, or was it a result of it? Because you park a ridge over here for weeks and months on end, you will warm the water up quite a bit. So the question is how deep this is this, and I have not seen anything convincing that it's shallow or deep, so it's hard to tell. I think that the deeper it is, the more likely it'll persist in the winter, and then you can start affecting long wave pattern. I think what's more likely to happen is that you have so much warm water up in here, the humidities, the specific humidities are higher than usual in here too. The actual water content is higher than usual in here. So when we do get storms into the west, they're going to be particularly wet, and we've already seen that with a couple of our early fall storms. Hard to say, because really, if you want snow here in the Northeast, you need a trough somewhere in here, right? I mean, and this is somewhat disconnected from what's going on from the El Nino or La Nina. So that's a harder call. And I know CPC, I think they're going equal chances, but they always go equal chances. But but in this case, I have to agree with it, because if you can get if you can get a ridge in the Gulf of Alaska and you've got a southern branch going on, actually you might end up still being robbed. Right. You can still end up with systems going across the southern branch of the jet, but you can't get the Arctic air to come in. So you end up with nice cold rainy storms as opposed to snow. So Interesting question. Other questions, thoughts? Good ghost stories.
Any last questions? All right, thank you, Eric.
Cool, thanks.
Next here will be Henry Martin. My granddad.
Oh, thank you. Oh, they went a little above average.
So this is the 814.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Coast to coast warm.
We're gonna go to that.
Okay.
You should be.